Weronika, hello
Now it's
again.
better.
Yes, we see you better without our custom background.
Yeah, it didn't work this time, but luckily it was fixed. So, okay, I missed what you said, but to start over, I will tell about the how to communicate our ideas in a better way, and it will be a simple step-by-step rules to improve any visualization that we are creating. So it can be a chart, it can be a dashboard. It should apply to everything. So let me share my screen. Hopefully you can see it.
Yes,
okay.
We see it.
So maybe let me start with introducing.
Yes. For the next hour and a half, you are host of this workshop. And do whatever you want.
Okay. So I will start with an introduction. So my name is Weronika. I am a data visualization designer and trainer, which means that I help clients translate their question into data visualization, and also, help them to learn how to do this on their own when I'm gone. If you are interested in data visualization and user-centered design, you can find me on Towards Data Science, where I write. Without further ado, maybe we can jump to the workshop. So I'd like to start with the part where I will explain you some things, and I will start with the right questions that we should ask before we start doing or preparing the data visualization. Then I will tell you a little bit about the data relationships and how to choose the right chart. And then we will focus on formatting the chart, and this is where the magic happens. So I will give you 4 simple principles that should help you to dramatically change the chart and make your story, your insight pop up better. And this is the, let's say, theoretical part where I'll be speaking for the most part. But then I would like to jump to the hands-on part, where we will go through everything that I said, and we try to apply it to the scenarios that I prepared for you. And at the very, very end, I will show you and do it with you, hopefully collect some ideas, some before and after. I will show you some charts that were before the changes were applied and how they might look after the principles that we discussed were applied. So this is what we are going to talk today. And let's start with actually where to start creating any chart. And this is the asking the right questions. Then we will jump to talking about the data relationships, and then at the very end to the chart formatting. But as I said, start with the right questions. And what are those right questions? So you can call them 4 V's or 4 W's, and it's who, what, why, and where. And this should be the main focus of analysis that we are doing before creating any chart. So who is the user that we want to create the chart for? So is it one user group, or are there more than one? And should we create, I don't know, one chart, or maybe the users needs different approaches and different charts? So this is something we should keep in mind. Also, is it an internal or external user? So if we are creating the visualization for the company, are we doing this for the user within our company, or are we doing for the broader audience? And this is important because the expectations and the knowledge of the data might be different. So if it's an internal one and it's well aware of the data that we are about to show, we don't have to explain the data that much. But if it's an external user and it's not aware of the subject that we want to present, it's better to provide an explanation, or I don't know, some tooltips, some link to the data source, and so on. So last thing about the who is, what is their experience, both with the data, as I already said, but also with the tools that we are about to use to create the data visualization. So if we are creating the static chart, like the one that will be included in the report, it's not a problem, right? Because it's probably going to be included in PDF or will be printed out. So the knowledge of the tool is not that important. But as it was already discussed, Tableau or Power BI, so there is some difference in using those tools. So it's good to think about the user experience. So do they know how to click through the dashboard, or how to connect to the dashboard, or I don't know, are they aware of the tooltips or any other navigation? So this is the first thing. Who are we creating the visualization for, and what are their experience and expectations? So the next question is what we are going to show, what the information the user needs, what kind of data do we have, and if we are about to create the dashboard, how often the data needs to be updated. So this is important, for example, if we are using Tableau to know what kind of connection we should use. Is it an extract or the live connection? How often the extract should be refreshed and stuff like this, because this might affect the performance. So we should know what to expect, what kind of data to expect. And also it's worth asking ourselves, is it the chart or the visualization that we are going to create a one-time analysis, or something that will be repetitive? So if it's an one-time analysis and we know the data, then we can work with what we see and what we discover during the when we create the data visualization. But if it's meant to be a repetitive thing, we should think about the data range that we might expect. So imagine that we are going to create, I don't know, some bar chart, and then some outlier will affect how the data is presented. So there will be a one bar which is very long or high, and the other one will be just flattened out. So maybe in this case the bar chart is not the good chart choice. So this is something we should keep in mind. So if it's a one-time analysis and we know the data, we can design accordingly. But if it's a repetitive one, then we should try to select something that is safer, and it will not be affected by data outliers or the data refresh. Or, for example, if the number of categories change. So instead of nicely formatted 4 categories, we now ended up with 10, and it will not, fit into one page or something like this. next question is why? Why we are creating the data visualization? And the answer that we were asked for it is not a good one. I mean, why the user needs the data visualization? What is how they are going to use it? Is it for the exploratory or explanatory purpose? So are they going to discover the relationship between the data, or do they want to find the insight that we should provide them in a chart? And are the user is he interested in overview or the details? So those are different approaches, and if it's an overview, then maybe some number summary will be enough. If it's a details, maybe, I don't know, maybe charts or maybe tables on a different level will be good. And finally, the last question is where, and this is also important. So where the user will engage with the chart, is it in front of the computer on the big screen, or is he going to, look at the chart or the dashboard on his mobile? Then we should have completely different approach, and also think about the time. How much time do they have when interacting with the visualization that we are creating, as well as, are they going to just check it briefly before the meeting, or are they, going to play with what we are about to create, and we can maybe hide a little bit of the information so they can discover it and be engaged all the time. So those are important questions to ask. And now let's, try to put it in practice. So imagine that we have a scenario where we want to create a static chart for a publicly available report that will focus on injuries in a workplace. So a relatively easy task. And now try to translate it into the 4 questions. So who is our audience? In this case, is a quite broad audience, probably the professionals from the field, but it also can be some random person that come across the report over the internet. What we are going to create, we are going to create the static chart that will be then included in the PDF report, so we don't have to worry about, if it's going to fit the page, but we should keep in mind that there is no interactivity, so we should display everything that we want to include. So we cannot use tooltips or additional information that might be hidden, for example, in Tableau, in a collapsible container or something like this. Our why question is probably to raise the awareness, tell the story and explain why or what are the main injuries and what is their cost. And I mean, did it change over time? And probably it's rather an overview because it's we want to just instead of providing detailed information, we just want to raise the awareness. So it's rather an overview. And if the user is interested, then he can jump into, some detailed chart or explanation provided in the report. So it's an overview. And where it will be a part of the PDF report. So we don't have to worry about how it will be displayed on a mobile, because we assume that it will be read on a desktop or on a printed report. So those are our 4 questions, but we can even go a step further and try to specify them. So maybe go step back. So we know who, what, why, and where, but this is not enough to create a visualization, right? Because this is the general approach, and then we want to think about the message we want to provide. So maybe we can think about that together. And do you have any ideas what kind of message we could show in a scenario like this? So the static chart for the publicly available report focusing on injuries in the workplace, something that is an overview for broad audience and for professionals from the field, something to raise an awareness. So what kind of question we might try to answer with the visualization that we are about to create? Any ideas? If not, I can using technology. What is the ratio of injuries? Yes, good thinking. I will jump to the scenario I actually prepared. So the question I wanted to focus on is, what is the total cost of the most disabling injuries? Because, you know, if the worker is disabled, is injured, he cannot work. So then the company is losing some money. So what is the total cost of the of that? And what are the most disabling injuries? And why those questions might be important? So knowing the cost of the disabling injuries, we might know how much the companies are losing, how much the certain sector is losing, what is the scale of the of those injuries and how they are affecting the performance of the companies, for example. And knowing what are the most disabling injuries will, first of all, let us know what are which one of them have the biggest impact on the income. And later, it can be analyzed by probably CEOs to know how to prevent them. And you know, maybe there is some pattern. Maybe the most costful one are the easy to prevent. We don't know. So we want to discover this. So this is the part. I mean, asking the right questions. We know what we are about to create, for who, where it will be consumed, and we know that the question that we want to focus on and what we are about to show. So then the next step is to think about data relationships. And yes, you've heard me right. Instead of jumping to choosing the chart, we should think about the data relationships that we want to highlight or show. So we have 8 different data relationships, and they are according to Stephen Pugh. So the first one is distribution, and it's a count of values per chosen interval, right? So yeah, we can define the interval. It can be time, it can be category, whatever we choose. Then is the correlation, and correlation is a comparison of 2 paired sets of values, and it determines the relationship between them. So, for example, we can compare 2 measures like, I don't know, sales and profits, and see if there is any correlation between them. So if the sales or if the profit is increasing, how it affects the sales. Then is a geospatial relationship, and this is the values are displayed on a map to show or to highlight and focus on the location. The comparison, you can compare one or multiple measures across one or more sets of items. So we can compare the sales across different regions or different products categories, so we can see how well they are performing. The fifth one is time series. So the values are displayed and over the time, so we can see how the time change affect the measure that we are showing. The sixth one is ranking, and basically it's just when the categories are ordered by value or their ranking position. The next one is deviation, and it's the difference of or between two sets of values. So we can compare sales versus target, right? So how well comparing with the targets we are performing. Or we can compare the current year with the last year, for example, and see the deviation between them. And lastly is part to whole. So values are represented as the parts of the whole. So we can see, for example, what is the share of women across leading roles in their companies, or what is the, I don't know, how far for the till the completion we are, so we can track the progress, right? It's also the part to whole. So this is the starting point, the data relationships, and then we can translate them to corresponding charts. So if we want to show the distribution, the most suitable charts is bar chart or column chart and scatter plot. So we can see the different distribution. If we want to focus on the distribution of one measure, bar chart is a better option. But if we want to show the distribution of the two measures, then we can use scatter plot as well. For correlation, we should definitely use the scatter plot, and the bubble chart is just a variation in which we are including the third measure and we put it on the size. For geospatial, we should use map. So there are a couple of options like bubble map when we encode the value with the size of the bubble. Chlorophet map, in which we are using the color to show the amount of the measure. But side note, geospatial, I mean, if we have the geographical category like country or region or city, I mean, it doesn't automatically mean that we have to use the map. Probably, I mean, map is only good if we really want to show the location. So when the location is important, then we should use map. But if we just want to compare the result between different countries, probably the simple bar chart will do the work. So this is also something we should keep in mind if it's really important to show things on a map. If we want to compare, then we can either choose a bar chart or a column chart. And the choice is really affected by the length of the categories. So if we have the longer names of the categories, like, I don't know, if we have the survey and we want to show the whole question, or we have the the product names that are quite long, then we should definitely use the bar chart, because otherwise we will have just a zigzag of or worse, tilted names. It's really not good to read. So for a longer names, we should definitely use a bar chart. If we have the shorter names, like ranges, so if we are showing the ages, I don't know, between 15 and 30, 31 and 45, something like this, then we can use a column chart, because the name of the category will fit below the column. For the time series, we can use some variation of a line chart, which is either line chart or slope graph, which is basically the simplified version of a line chart that is showing only the start and the end. For the ranking, I couldn't think of the better chart than the bar chart, because we can, just see the ranking and the value. So for the ranking, the bar chart is the best option. For the deviation, we can use the deviation column or bar chart, and also depending on the length of the categories, but also we can use some variants of the bar chart. So the bar charts with the line that is showing the target is also the good choice. And for part to whole, we can either select stacked bar chart, if we want to split it by the categories, or a pie chart. But also it's worth keeping in mind that showing more than 2-3 categories is really hard to read. Ideally 2 of them, so you can see the progress, but if you end up with 10 or so categories, it's really hard to read, and it's better to show as a bar chart. So yes, this is how the data relationships translate into the charts. So if we know what kind of relationship we want to show, then we know what chart options do we have. And in our case, for the total cost of the most disabling injuries, we can use a KPI card or big number. I mean, just a big number, because it's the single number we want to focus on, and there is no philosophy behind this, so we can just show it as a number. For the most disabling injuries and their cost, table might be a good option, but if we want to provide an overview, maybe the bar chart is a better solution. So those are the initial ideas, some suggestions that we might use in the future, and this is the chart that was actually created for the purpose, and this is coming from Liberty Mutual Safety Index report. So that was done by someone else, but this is the chart that basically answers all of our questions, and it uses the data visualization that we would have picked, right? So the total cost of the most disabling injuries is summarized as a header, and it's shown as a big number, right? So there is no visualization behind it. It's just, total cost of the most disabling workplace injuries is 55.43 billion, right? And the top 10 injuries costs 46.93 billion, so quite a lot. And the most disabling injuries are those. There is a list, and they are presented as both as a table and as a chart. and they are sorted descending by their cost. So, I mean, this is not the ideal chart, but this is good because we want to work on that to improve it. But this is a starting point, right? So we know what we want to show. We pick up the data, think of that, all of the questions, and we decided on a chart. Now, what we can do is try to format the chart to make it actually look nicer. And there are 4 principles that I prepared for you. And I try to make them as simple as they can be and as universal as they can be. So you should be able to use them in a chart, in a dashboard. So they are more of a, overall guidance and the things to think of when creating the data visualization. So the first one is less is more. Just clean the data visualization and keep it simple. Then is the consistency. So thinking of that, keeping the same formatting. Next one is hierarchy, basically the visual hierarchy that will guide the user attention. And the last one is context. So if we know what we want to show, then we should ask ourselves, is there any other additional data that will help us understand the chart better? So those are the 4 principles that we should keep in mind. And actually, what do they mean? So how to translate them into some practical steps and rules that we can implement. So less is more. We should just remove any visual distractors, which means definitely 3D effects, boxes, icons, stuff like this. I mean, they are just, Edward Taft called them chart junk, and this is something that is not encoding the data. So they are not conveying any information, they should be just removed. Next step is limit the color usage. So color should be used purposefully, and I mean, we should not just color up the data visualization. It's not, we are not in kindergarten, so it's not making it prettier. It's just making some visual noise. So the color should be limited. And the last thing to think of is level of details. So do we provide the data on a level of details that is needed? So this applies to number formatting and the data granularity. If the user wants to see the data on aggregated regional level, then we should provide it on provide the data on that level, not include the data on a country level, because in this case it will only be noisy information and it will blurry the message and it will not be useful for the user. The same with the number formatting. So imagine that we have the sales in millions. If we keep the details to the 2 decimal points of and keep the actual number. So it will be 1,250,078 point. I am already lost, right? 1.2 million is enough for the user in this case, and it will be easier to understand. So yeah, let's jump to our example. So according to what I said, first step is to just remove everything that is not needed. So I hope you can see my mouse. I just removed the icon, the color, which was not encoding anything. You can see that it's just some sequence. So it's dark green, yellow, mint, and dark blue, and it's repeated over and over. And it's not encoding any information, so it's just a noise. I also removed the background, so just keep everything white, and the color in a table. For now, it's not needed. We can always add it later if we find the good justification for it. So this is the first step, but we can remove even more visual distractors. And in our case is, combining what we have here. So basically we have the separate table, and on top of it is added the column chart, which doesn't make sense, and it can be easily combined to some, let's say, middle step, which is the combination of the table in this part and the chart, which is rotated 90 degrees and attached to the table. And lastly, we can adjust the number formatting. So if you can see here, we have 2 decimal points, both in numbers and in percentages. And it's really not needed. We are not, the user will not perform the detailed analysis. So 1 decimal point is enough. And if you compare it, it's easier to read, right? This number looks complicated, and it's longer, and is just, we are using the mental capacity to understand it, to read it. So we could and we should simplify it. And this is how the chart looks after removing visual distractors. So it's quite boring right now, but we just clean it up from the things that are not conveying any. They are not bringing any additional information. No worry, we will make it a little bit nicer later. So the next principle is consistency, and this applies to color usage, as well as font sizes and their colors and formatting, alignment and layout, and chart usage. So color usage means, consistency in color usage means that if we decided that we are about to, use the red to notify user, to keep their attention because, the data is, or the category is underperforming, then we should be consistent and not use the same color for any other reason. If we are, for example, comparing China with US, and we in one chart use, let's say, red for China and blue for US, we should keep it consistently. So in any other chart in which we are comparing China and US, we should use the same colors that we picked before. For font sizes and colors and formatting, so imagine that we providing some annotations or some legend, and we have more than one of each. So if we decided for the specific shade of gray, or we are just using black, just be consistent and use the same formatting everywhere. So then the user will know that they are looking at the legend or at the axis or some explanation. They will just have to understand what they are looking at once, and then they will just know. Regarding the alignment and layout, so it's good to use the grid layout and basically keep everything clean and and need. So the sizes of the charts, if we have more than one chart, should be similar. So for example, if we are having, I don't know, KPI cards on top and we have 4 of them, so they should occupy the same space, the same width, alignment. If we have some text alignment, so for example, if we are showing the labels that are aligned to the left in one chart, then we should align them to the left in other, because then we will have just some dancing elements on the screen. And lastly, the chart usage. So this is especially important if we have some dashboard and we are, or in a report we are showing more than one chart. So if we decided to show, maybe not ranking, if we, what is a good example? We are comparing some sales across different regions for different products. And then if you have the same chart in a different region, then we should use, I mean, if we are using the chart for the same purpose to show and compare the sales for each product, we should use the same chart, right? So let it be bar chart everywhere. Don't try to mix it up. So instead of having 4 bar charts for 4 different regions, we are using bar chart and then the, for example, column chart to just mix things up. So this is not a good idea. And in our example, we can work on the alignment. So on the left side, you can see that this is a middle step. We just combine the chart with the table, and we might just format it a little bit nicer. So to make it looking more like an actual chart, right? So to put the labels on the right side and work on the alignment. So in this case, I decided to align it to the names of the categories. But I mean, we could just leave it as it was. That was just my personal preference. So this is how I would work on the alignment. And now we can move to the third principle, which is the hierarchy. And we can, or actually we should highlight the most important information. And we can do this by increasing the size of the letters, by making them bolder, using the capital letters, or even adding some colors. So in this way, the user will just see this information faster. Also, we should de-emphasize the less important data. And for the chart, it usually is scale, information about the unit, some notes, also axis and legends. I mean, those are important elements, but there is no need to emphasize them. And those are the secondary information that helps us to consume the chart. So they are more of the, let's say, annotation. So they are not the data itself. And also, lastly, we should be aware of the reading patterns. So there are two reading patterns. The first one is F. So it means that we are starting from the left and we are just scanning or reading the things like we would have read the book. So we start on the left side and we just read each line from the left to the right, and that's why it's called F, right? Because it's similar to the F. Or there is a Z pattern. So we just scan the page like a zigzag, and we are doing the Z. So we are starting on the left side, and we are just scanning through it. And this is important because it tells us where to put the most important information. So the element or the point of the screen, the chart, that will bring the most attention is the top left corner. And this is the place where we should put the most important thing. And this is also why we should not put the logo there, because I mean, it's important, but it will just distract the user from the actual chart. So this is the way that we can create the hierarchy, and let's try to bring some hierarchy to our chart. So what I did here, I change a little bit the name of the categories, because as you can see here, they are quite long, right? And there is really no need for the user to read them, I mean, all of them. So this is, for example, struck against object or equipment. I mean, basically, we are interested in the information that the person was struck, and against the object or equipment is just the secondary information that can be de-emphasized. And you can see that I make this smaller, and also I use italize it, and just bolder the most important part of the label. Also, I added some color actually to just make it a little less dull. And in this case, I assigned the greenish color to the chart, and also colored the labels using the same color. So the actual value in billion is more important information. That's why it's bolder and bigger. And the percentage is the secondary information. That's why I make it, I de-emphasize it. So I make it gray and a little bit smaller than the first part of the label. So this is how the visual hierarchy might look like. We can still work on the title, but just leave it for now. And let's jump to the last formatting principle, which is the context. And if it's possible, we can enrich data with some, I don't know, historical, seasonal, or forecast data, include information about the data source, and annotate. And in our case, I changed the title to the more meaningful one. So instead of just showing the number, I just actually switched the position. So the information about those numbers is here. So it's included in the chart. So we have information about the total cost. We can information about the top 10 of the most disabling workplace injuries. I also added the percentage. So we know that the top 10 of the injuries are almost 98% of all of the injuries costs. Also, the context is how costful are other injuries. And yeah, instead of putting those statement in the top, I just change it to more meaningful message that will be, something I want user to remember. And also I provided the information about the scale, so that the cost is actually in billions. And yeah, what does 23.7% means? It's the total cost, right? So this is how the chart looked before and how it looks now. There is still some color, but it's more meaningful. So we know that we focus on the top 10, but also there is the gray part adding some context to the data that we are looking at. So to sum up what we discussed, there are 3 steps of creating the data visualization. First one is asking the right questions. There are who, what, why, and where. Thinking about the data relationship that we want to show, and then choosing the right chart. And lastly is to focus on the chart formatting. And while we are doing this, there are 4 principles that we should keep in mind, which is less is more, consistency, hierarchy, and context. So now I would like to jump to examples, and actually, hopefully we will do them together. So let's start with the right question. And read the scenario and try to think about the 4 V's. I will give you a minute. So, okay, the scenario is here if someone needs to read it. And it's we are about to create the business dashboard to track the sales across the regions, manufacturer, and products. And our 4 questions are who, what, why, and where. So any ideas? Oh, sorry, what is the? Oh, those are some old questions. Sorry, I didn't notice them. Any ideas about those 4 questions? Who do you think is our user? Sales manager, yes. Senior level executive sales manager, yes. What is the information they need? What kind of questions do they have? Yes, Anita. Yeah, very good. Who is performing better? Yes. So, for example, yes, exactly. Region-wise, yes. So those are the questions, and the general approach is to provide the summarized view, because they rather want to, focus on the trends, let's say monthly trends. What are the KPI performance of the key metrics, and in our case, they need relatively fresh data because they want to monitor the performance. So this is our what and why. Why do they need to see this data? Yeah, I like Vladimir, your ideas, top 10 products, but yes, region-wise, yes, we will have it in the final chart. See if KPIs, yes, exactly. Here, yes, keep track of the targets. So if the targets were reached, we need to advert, yes. So they want to keep track of the targets, see if there is anything that we need to improve, quickly see the status and make an informed decision, right? So take an action. And where do you think such a person might check the data, the dashboard that we are going to create? Exactly, PC or mobile. Yes. Yeah, we often keep forgetting that the mobile is, more and more popular for browsing the internet and checking the dashboards as well. So this is something to keep in mind, because designing for big screen is a little bit different than designing for the mobile. And yeah, executives probably want to have the quick interactions. So this is also something that will affect the design decision that we will make. Okay, the main questions are those that were already listed. So what is the current sales trend, and where do we make the biggest profit, right? So are we on the target, and do we need to change the marketing strategy? So this is exactly what you just said. And now let's do a quick, exercise with understanding data relationships. So we have those 8 data relationships, and I would like you to think of what kind of relationship we want to focus on when we are asking the question, what is the current sales trend? What do you think is it? Is it out of the 8 listed one? The time series. Yes, exactly. This is the time series, because we want to see how it's changed over time. So the trend is tightly related with the time that passes. The next question is, where do we make the biggest profit? So what kind of data relationship do you think it is? Distribution. Yes. So distribution is also a good answer, but maybe if we are focusing on the biggest profit, is more of the ranking, but also the distribution might work, because ranking is also the bar chart. So yeah, this is very similar. And if we want to focus on the location, is geospatial. So that's correct answer. And lastly, is profit driven by sales? Correlation, yes, exactly. So those are the 3 questions that we have. And okay, the current sales trend is a time series. So for that, we can use the line chart or slope graph. If we want to show where we make the biggest profit, it's either ranking or geospatial, depending on what we want to focus on. And if we want to show or analyze if the sales profit is driven by sales, then it's a correlation, and for that we can use a scatter plot or bubble chart, depending on whether or not we have the third measure to show. So this is the example of how the how such chart might look like, and it was actually created in Tableau. What is let's say interesting about this dashboard? So first of all, it's a summarized view, right? We have the big numbers on top. So when someone is looking at this chart, he or she can just see the numbers right away. There is a comparison with the previous year and the target. So here you have the target, and here is the information about the previous year. So the comparison is also available. It focuses on the key indicator. So the chart, the dashboard is split into 4 different sections. So it's sales, profit ratio, shipment costs, and share of return orders. And each of this section contains the same chart, right? So we have the summary at the top. Then we can see the trend split by the country, and we can see the country deviation from the current year. So the layout is consistent, and it's repetitive, and it's grouped together, so you know exactly at what you are looking at. So there is the vertical and the horizontal bundle, let's say. So we know where we at. The last thing is showing the trend. So yeah, we can see how the data changed over time. And now we can jump to the last part, and this is the chart formatting. So I picked the 3 different charts, and I'd like you to do a brainstorming. Those are the actual charts. This one is coming from GfK, one of the reports from the last or 2 years ago. And what do you think can be improved in this chart according to the 4 principles that we discussed? So the less is more, consistency, hierarchy, and context. This is the original chart, and what would you remove or add or change? Yes, 1 to 3 numbers, yes. Map doesn't bring E, exactly. Color, exactly. Yes, so all of you are right. So I make it, step-by-step changes. So first of all, I, as you said, remove the 1 to 3, because you already can see that it's 1 to 3 because it's a list of 3 countries, and it's already specified that those are the top 3 countries per country. So that was removed. I also removed the additional, lines, boxes, stuff like this. The next step was to remove the country or the maps, as you said. And I also switched the orientation. So switch from the column to the bar chart, because then you have more space for the name. You don't have to use more than 1 line. You can just make it nicely readable. So that was the second step. Then I removed the color variation, because there is no need of, we can think if using 3 colors is also needed, but for sure the color gradient is not. Yes, and as Dennis said, the map will be helpful, and this is what I added in the very last step to actually show on a map where those cities are. So this is, I mean, this is the usage of the map, right? Not to tell you what is the country, but to show the distribution of the cities that we are talking about. Maybe some numbers would be nice, but basically it's not the purpose of this map. And another thing is to simplify the numbers, because previously you can see that we had a very detailed number, and now we move to the simpler the usage of, yes, to learn geography. Exactly. So in this case, the color is, encoding the country. So there is a correlation between the map and the chart. So this is the first example, and before and after, and we are still using colors, but they are more meaningful, let's say, inside the bars. Yeah, it depends. Sometimes, I mean, we could place them at the very beginning of the chart, of the bar. I mean, there is a use case for different placements, and I think for me, this one looks a little bit cleaner. So this is also a personal preference, and it highlights the difference between the charts. And also one last thing I didn't mention, maybe someone will notice, what is the difference between those bars and those in the after chart? Something about the axis. Is the scale? Yes, exactly. So here, okay, here we have the same scale, and we can compare how well countries in Switzerland are performing, comparing with Austria or Germany. But here the scale is, let's say, standardized for each country. So you cannot really compare countries, cities across the countries. So yeah, this is yes, that's true. So I would not suggest you doing this when we have a dashboard and no control over the data. But in this case, is a static data, and I already know that there will be enough space for the labels inside the bars, so that's okay. And as I started saying, it declutter the right side of the bar, so you can see the differences better. I mean, differences in the length of the bar. So you can really see, for example, this difference, as well as the difference in Germany or Austria. So this is the first example. We can jump to the second one. So this is those are three different tables. Those are the tables from the YouGov for the this is the ranking of the states according to all Americans, the top one, Democrats and Republicans. So any ideas how to actually visualize it? Because this is just the table, and they just added the map as the background. Yes, this is one approach. We could make it interactive. And heat map. Yes. But then it will be a little bit hard to, yeah, but I mean, this is, then you still would have three different, but any idea how to combine those three into one chart? Distribution, yes. Okay, so I see that everyone is going with the map. Okay, so I will show you something a little bit different, and this is an example how I mean that we don't have to use map with the geographical data. And okay, you can tell your opinion. How do you like what I just did? So instead of having three different tables, we can just combine it to the one chart, right? And we can use the color coding. So the Democrats is the blue one, the Republicans the red dot, and All American is the gray one. So everything is sorted according to, I mean, based on the All American responses, so the average of all of the responses. And then we have information about the result in each of the category. So that would be the first step. So instead of having three tables, we have one chart. Another one will be adding the information, so we can add labels and just color the one that is, I mean, color code the chart, adding the corresponding color to the part of the dumbbell. So if it's below the average and it's for Republican, then it's colored red. And if it's the, let's say, part of the Democrats, it's colored blue. The next step is to add the ranking, because here in the table the data was ranked, and you could see that overall the Hawaii is the most states is the better the best state to live, I assume. So this is the best state, and we know that, for example, Wyoming is 22nd, right? So we just added this here, so we know the overall rank of the state, and we also know what is the rank for within each group, right? So we know that among Republicans, the best place to live is Florida, right? Even though that in the overall rank is on the 6th place. So that would be the next step. And lastly, we can provide the context and format things to make them easier to read. So here I just highlighted or make the number boulders for the category, or for the if the country, if the state was more popular or ranked higher within the Democrat, then I bolder the blue part, and if it's ranked higher among the Republican, then I bolder the red part, and also I annotate the best and the worst state among different groups. So this is something that makes it easier to read. So this is before and after, and yeah, this is something a little bit different. It's not a map; it's just a dumbbell and yeah, some annotation, and it allows us to read it in a slightly different ways, right? So you can have an overview and focus on the states, see their rank and see where they are more popular, among which group they are more popular, and I mean, what is the difference in of the opinion, right? So you can see that the most polarizing state is probably the California, even though it's quite high in the ranking. It's 12th. There is a huge difference between the Republicans and Democrats. So yeah, you can see how the answers varies. And the last example I have for you is the small multiples created by PEP Research Center, and this shows the how important 4 different aspects are among 4 different countries. So what do you think, and how the responses changed over time, so between 2016 and 2020. So what do you think could be changed here, and what can be added, what can be removed? Year is So you would simplify that bar. Okay. You would simplify the scales. Too many charts. Everything looks. But scale, yes. So this is because we have too many charts that the scale is squeezed, and it basically looks like the horizontal line. Titles are not very readable. Yes, probably because they are too close to the scales. I mean, the time scale and the vertical one. Show 4 countries in one scale. Yes, thank you, Anita. So, okay. So this is actually the first step. So the first step would be to group it and to make it a little bit more readable. So instead of having 16 different charts, we could just group them into 4 and make the scale longer, and it's easier to read, right? So you have countries next to each other, and the scale is, let's say, longer. So may have, but here, yes. So adding color is actually the next step is sorting. So here is, I mean, it's a little bit chaotic, so I would sort it first. So we could see, I mean, what has the what is the most important category or area, and what is the least important. So sorting comes before adding the color. And as Ralitza said, adding color would bring the value, and I would suggest adding it. So I added color per country. So first of all, we can compare within one category, but also we can compare across the countries, right? So you can see how the values or how people answered within the Germany or within France. So you can read it both horizontally and vertically. And the last thing is formatting. So we can de-emphasize the things that are not that important, that are just a secondary information. And in our case is the axis. So if we make it less visible, then they are not, blurry the chart. And also what was added in the original chart is the significance of the results. So it was actually showed here. If the number was bolded, it means that the change over the course of the 4 years was significant one. And here, it's a little bit bigger, I added this as well. So if the line is bolder, then the change is significant. And actually only those two lines or changes weren't significant. The other one were. So this is the before and after. And yeah, any questions or any other ideas what could have been added? I don't see. So this is actually everything that I had prepared for you. And I am ready to answer some questions. As we have the percentage, do you really need the y-axis? I don't get, as we have the last one. You mean to just remove this one, the bottom one? This is a good. I mean, here is all. It's repetitive and probably it's too much, but here it just helps you to know where the beginning and the end of the chart is. So yeah, but I mean, probably we could de-emphasize this as well. I reduced the information to just put a scale, the unit here, so you know it's years. Yeah, I mean, probably I wouldn't remove the axis because then it would just look strange. What resources institutions would you recommend to learn the? Definitely books, and I've heard Tor already recommend you some that I also would have, but I try to look for something else. So definitely anything that Edward Taft wrote. Currently, I'm reading the Envisioning Information, and it's just amazing. I mean, I would definitely recommend any book he wrote. So it's worth reading and definitely worth having. And also maybe something less related to the data visualization is the book 100 Things Every Designer Needs to Know About People. It's also nice because it explains you how people read, how people understand, and how people think. So it's interesting, first of all, and second of all, it will help you create better visualizations and answer your audience needs. And lastly is Alberto Cairo. I didn't notice that it was recommended, so the functional art is also a good one. And Alberto is, very experienced in creating data visualization, so he's using his own examples, which are just amazing. I mean, this is, the explanation that he provides is also eye-opening, so I would definitely recommend this book. As you can see, I mean, there is a lot of marks, so definitely a lot of things to remember. Right, name? Yes, I will. So it's Ward, that, not to misspell it, Alberto Cairo, and this is the long one. So it's a Susan Bay. So those are my recommendations, and Alex, do we still have some time, some questions?
Yes, we have time because break time is some kind of buffer. So let's continue our discussion. I have a stupid question. Maybe I missed.
There is no stupid question.
Yeah. Maybe because people hesitate. But stupid question. What is your favorite chart?
My favorite chart, the one that is present data accurately, let's say. But favorite one, I don't know if I have any. Definitely, I know which one I don't like. I don't like pie chart because I think, there is always a better way to show it differently. So the pie chart is my least favorite one.
Okay, thank you. This question sounds stupid, but really it's a tricky question.
It is, yeah, but yeah. And do you have any favorite chart?
Oh.
Exactly.
It's unfair. I remember that when I was starting my consulting experience and teaching experience, but really I understand I was beginner and I was inspired by Sankey chart. And taking my workshops, I always told about Sankey charts and this wow infographics, and I always was looking for ways how to apply it to the business data, and I find these ways, but my students tried to follow me and used Sankey chart, not for this real reason. It was it had wow effect for a first sight, but really it was useless.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I have experienced that I had favorite chart, but finally, after maybe 3 years, I decided that I shouldn't tell about it.
Okay. But actually, then maybe you know it make you bias doing the second step. So when thinking of choosing the correct chart, you were more likely to choose this chart over the other, right?
Right, but now okay, I have a favorite chart. It's a single value card, KPI card,
Yeah,
or factoid. It has several names, but it's not even a chart, but the most attractive way without any visual noise.
yeah,
Just value
yeah.
and nothing
Yeah,
else.
and it's very good for for dashboard and for an overview, right? So you don't have to clutter your dashboard with some charts. You can just use the summary in a KPI.
Gasper, do you have your favorite visual?
Yeah, it's Zebra BI.
Yeah,
you're gonna see it in the in all the financial reports I do in my session. It's something I love because it does all the heavy lifting for you. Basically, you need 3 measures instead of like 9 or 12.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Yeah, and the reason I love it is because it doesn't even allow you to use this crazy formatting. It enforces IBCS, so you're safe to go.
Yeah.
Right.
So probably this is an answer to for Anita's questions. So probably for performance tracking, the Zebra charts are the best, and you can easily use them in Power BI. I don't know if they are available in Tableau.
Nope, they're not.
Yeah,
they are in Excel, although.
Yeah, so I mean, you can try to create them in Tableau.
Well, there are many knockoffs out there.
Yeah,
so I'm guessing there must be some in like similar ones at least.
Yeah, but in Power BI there is a plugin for that for sure. No.
Okay, and another one question. Actually, maybe I don't understand it. Regarding the formatting principles, what would you say are the hierarchies that we should know of specifically? Is there a list?
That we should know. I mean, definitely we should, if I understood the question right, we should focus on text elements. So, I mean, think of what is the most important part, right? And highlight this. So, as I said, the axis and the legends are less important, so it can be de-emphasized, but other text elements like maybe some summary is more important, and we want to focus on that more. So it depends, right? The title doesn't have to be the biggest one always, but if it's the summary of the data that we are showing, it can be, emphasized. So it depends.
The most popular answer from
Yes, it depends. Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you, Weronika.
Thank you. And yeah,